Hello, everyone. My name is Nabila Chowdhury, and I'm so excited to welcome you to Summer Starts in September, the webinar hosted by the National Summer Learning Association. I think there's something incredibly powerful about trusting and believing in kids, especially before they fully understand what's possible for themselves. That simple but radical idea is Dr. Khan's tagline and the main takeaway of Math Corps, a summer math program right here in Detroit, Michigan, rooted in mentorship and trust. Dr. Khan, the founder of Math Corps, saw something in all of his students early on, and that sort of belief stayed with me. I first joined Math Corps as a middle school student. I stayed on as a high school student, returning as a teaching assistant. I eventually went on to join my classmates at Harvard University, and during that time, I returned to Math Corps again, this time as a college instructor, while also working with State Senator Stephanie Chang here in Michigan. It was Dr. Khan who recommended me for NSLA's policy internship program in Washington, D.C., and that started a whole new chapter. I connected with another great family through NSLA, one built on mentorship, community, and deep belief in the power of young people. Through NSLA, I interned first with Senator Edward Markey of Massachusetts, then with Senator Elissa Slotkin of Michigan, and today I'm proud to serve full-time in Senator Slotkin's office as a Legislative Policy Graduate Fellow, alongside my work with Harvard Stride Fellowship, also a graduate program. These summer programs, internships, and camps, these are so important, especially now. They don't just build competitive and capable students, they create belonging, confidence, and community. At a time so many young people are facing isolation, isolation in information, in learning, and in community. Summer learning is more than enrichment, it's connection. Because you're here, I know you don't need to be reminded of how meaningful this work is. But let this serve as a reminder that it does change lives, mine included. Thank you all for everything that you do to make that impact possible. I'm so excited for the conversations ahead, so let's get started.
Wow, wow, wow. Let's give it up for Nabila. Incredible. Thank you so much, Nabila. And a big shout out to our friends at Math Corps. And it's so inspiring and so grounding to be reminded of the reason we all do this work. We're all here for the young people that we served this summer. And here's to the 7 million more young people that deserve to experience that sense of belonging and confidence and community that Nabila reminded us so beautifully about. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natalia Sol, Head of Partnerships for NSLA, and on behalf of our team at the National Summer Learning Association, welcome to the Summer Starts in September webinar. I can't wait to introduce you to some of our incredible partners to help you provide more quality opportunities for young people and communities all across this beautiful nation of ours. So let's get started. And I also can't wait to tell you about NSLA's big announcement. The timing of this conversation is critical. We're all closing the books on summer 25, and starting today, we are beginning to build our successful summer 26. At NSLA, we believe that summer actually does start in September. And therefore, today is September 30th. So we wanted to squeak in. It's not just a catchphrase, it is the gold standard. The work that drives joyful, high impact programs next May or June begins today by reflecting on what worked, setting program goals, aligning partners, developing your staff, and grounding decisions in the needs of youth and families. If you haven't seen it, much of the work we'll talk about today reinforces our latest resource. It is the updated version of our beloved Summer Starts in September. Now it is called Destination Summer Learning Guide. It's our signature research-based practice guide that translates evidence into action, clear standards and planning tools so the leaders of the transformative programs, you, can move from intention to implementation without having to reinvent the wheel. Check out the link in the chat to learn more about Destination Summer Learning Guide. Today's webinar is an important free offering to build capacity at scale. Last spring, more than 1,400 of you joined our 2-day summer planning bootcamp for tools on program innovation, student success, and quality partnerships. And our Get Ready for Summer tour delivered hands-on training sessions to over 1,000 youth development leaders nationwide. This is how NSLA helps you continue to turn good ideas into everyday practice. To get the latest updates on these and other events, make sure to follow us on LinkedIn by clicking on the link in the chat below. Please join us tomorrow also from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time for a very special meet and greet with discussions on hot topics in summer learning, hosted by the amazing leaders of NSLA's professional learning communities. Each PLC offers you a micro community to support you. These amazing groups help to connect you with your counterparts across the country, to lean on each other to find and share solutions to the challenges in your sector. It's free and easy to join, and each PLC holds quarterly meetings online. Click the link in the chat or scan the QR code throughout the webinar. And now for a very exciting announcement. For 33 years, NSLA has been the leading national organization that connects, strengthens, and advocates for summer learning providers and young people they serve. NSLA is a source of professional development, opportunities, strategic information, and key networking. It's a rich resource for anyone working in the summer learning space. Today, we are proud to roll out our brand new annual membership program, the Summer Insiders Club. When you become an insider, you join a community of tens of thousands of summer learning leaders just like you, committed to helping young people experience high-quality summer programs and each other. The annual fee for an individual membership is $250. As a special introductory offer, the first 1,000 members, we invite you to use the discount code INSIDERS in all caps, will get $100 off. Please click on the link or the QR code for more details, and we look forward to welcoming you as inaugural Summer Insiders. Okay, here are the 3 things I'm asking every one of us today as we embark on this summer reflection. Identify 1 practice to strengthen, 1 partnership to formalize, and 1 new idea to explore. We have a lot of great conversations ahead, and here's a very high-level look at our agenda. To kick us off, I'm thrilled to introduce 2 leaders who champion this work nationally. Our very own CEO of NSLA, Aaron Philip Dworkin, and the amazing Jodi Grant, Executive Director of the Afterschool Alliance. Thank you, Aaron and Jodi, for your incomparable leadership. Take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Natalia. And I also want to say thank you to Nabila and welcome to everyone who has made time on September 30th to take a breath, to take a beat and reflect and celebrate on all your hard work from this past summer and the amazing transformative experiences you provide to so many kids and families and communities, and to not only reflect and celebrate, but also to start to prepare for next summer. As many teachers and coaches say, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to have people start thinking about summer programs only in late spring and then doing the best they can. We know this work matters. We want it to be rolled into everyone's year-round planning and how they help students. And we're so glad and honored that you're here. You're going to hear from so many wonderful speakers and have a chance to gain a lot of resources. And I just want to say, before I introduce Jodi and we hear from her, just to share what our summer was like. We at NSLA, if you go back to what Natalia shared back in the spring, had a whole summer planning boot camp. Then we followed it up with a Get Ready for Summer Tour, where Broderick Clark went to 5 different cities around the country doing free staff trainings with partners. And then we, instead of having so many programs and staff and leaders coming to Washington, D.C., as we typically do, we decided to do something called 50 programs in 50 days and went to all around the country to visit so many programs. What happened was we ended up seeing 75 programs. And it was inspiring. It was amazing. We got so many examples from visiting so many programs around the country and seeing what you all do. We were then invited to come and provide some testimony on what we learned and saw in front of a Senate hearing on education, which was very exciting to be part of that as well. And I'll just say, we saw the multi-sector partnerships. We saw how people are creating fun experiences that are hands-on, engaging, that students want to attend, parents want their kids to go to, and staff want to work in. And we saw that it takes all of us to really reach so many students wherever they are, in schools, in nonprofit organizations, and all these community resources that are taking opportunities and creating opportunities and stepping up to serve more kids. And so we want to keep all that momentum going. As Natalia referenced, we have a great updated summer planning guide. It used to be called Summer Starts in September, now Destination Summer Learning. We created it in partnership with Professor Gil Noam and the PAIR team at Harvard, wonderful experts in our field. And so we look forward to working with them, to providing that resource to more people and the professional learning communities you have a chance to get involved with. But with all that said, we had a leader for our entire field in Jodi Grant and the Afterschool Alliance, who helped all of us when our federal funding was being delayed and maybe on the chopping block. And we had to all mobilize to make sure that that money that our programs need and our kids deserve was made more available. And we joined her, but we followed her lead, and she did an amazing job. And she's still leading a huge effort for all of us. So I wanted to turn it over to you, Jodi, to kind of share a little bit about your reflections on your hard work over the summer and where we are today. Jodi?
Well, thank you, Aaron, and thank you all for all that you do for our kids over the summers, and for the many of you that also work with them throughout the school year. As many of you probably know, on July 1st, there's about $7 billion in federal funds that were meant to go out to education programs, including after school and summer. And the administration decided to withhold or freeze those funds. It was questionable whether or not they would release the funds. If you've seen some of the other funding streams, particularly foreign aid, have not to date been released. And I've never been prouder to serve in the field. I should tell you that this was about 750,000 kids in summer learning programs were impacted by this. The freeze, we saw programs in Ohio, in West Virginia, in Utah that had to temporarily shut down. And the field was extraordinary. So to all of you that sent letters to your members of Congress, to your governors, to your attorney generals, the grass tops was extraordinary. We had over 100,000 letters sent, and that was just through our portal. Boys and Girls Clubs, YMCA, other education groups sent their own letters. The media was extraordinary. So again, thank you to all of you that spoke to media, local, state, national. We had over 1,000 stories in just 4 days about how important these programs are to our kids, to our families, to our communities. We had a bunch of members of Congress publicly say that they wanted to fund after-school programs. This was huge, including 10 Republican senators, because if you follow Congress right now, it is controlled, both the House and the Senate, by Republicans. So it's really essential to have Republican voices out there as well as Democratic voices. And within 3 weeks, the funding for after-school and summer was released, which was huge. A week later, the other funding was released. And what's very important as we look at the landscape right now is it's a time of great uncertainty in Washington, of deep cuts in funding. The House and the Senate have put out their budget plans for 2026. And they have cut a lot of education programs, but they have not cut after school and summer. And that is a testament to the work that all of you do and the fact that our members of Congress, this is one of the areas are in polarized times. They get that this matters to their communities, whether they are red, blue, or purple. So we need to keep that up. The Trump administration budget did eliminate funding for after school and summer, but we are hopeful that all of the media, all of the calls, all of the grass tops, so private calls to senators, to the White House, to cabinet members, has made them realize just how important these programs are too. So, so where we're standing right now is thanks to extraordinary the work this summer, and you'll get to see 2 slides about it, and help from all of you and NSLA. We were able to really cement the power of after school and summer on the minds of our policymakers, nationally and statewide. And we hope this puts us in good stead as we navigate forward. There may be a government shutdown tomorrow. We are doing, updates constantly on what that means. I think right now, because most of the funding that we get is forward funding, so, cuts in 2025 funding would go into effect for the 2026 school year. The 2026 funding that is part of this new, the new budget. So if there's a shutdown, that wouldn't impact our funding till the 2027 school year. So I think after school and summer is going to be okay, but there's nothing is certain. So I would say, make sure to sign up for our policy alerts, and we will let you know the latest information that we have. And then I just wanted to share some of these headlines because they were extraordinary. And if it's any of the state networks on the call, the state networks, some of them did incredible statewide press. And we are just, so grateful because we did this as a field, and it's gonna help us reach more kids as we go forward. And I think we even have like a little clip from ABC.
Meanwhile, the Trump administration is pausing more than $6 billion in federal aid for after-school programs and summer camps as part of a review of grants to ensure that they align with the president's priorities. The move, meanwhile, leaves many schools in limbo as they adjust their budgets for the school year. The Department of Education has not provided a timeline on when that review will be complete. The Office of Budget Management saying in a statement to ABC News, claiming that many programs misused funds to promote radical left-wing agenda. For more on this is Executive Director of the After School Alliance, Jodi Grant. Jodi, great to have you. Walk us through this. What kind of impact could this have on states and school districts who rely so heavily on this type of funding?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for paying attention to what's going on, because this is just traumatic for America's families. We're talking about 1.4 million students across our country who are in these amazing after-school programs, and they're run by school districts, they're run by community-based organizations, faith-based organizations. They're every local community's best resources to help our kids. And it really is the American success story because it keeps our kids safe. It is a lifeline for our working parents, and it inspires learning where our kids have academic support, enrichment activities. Some of the photos you're showing are beautiful. It's community gardens, it's robotics, it's, marching band, not to mention healthy meals.
I think you summed this up so perfectly that, this is a lifeline for working families. We know how expensive summer camp in America can be, just even for a few weeks. But curious what type of impact this could have on low-income families in particular.
So we are extremely concerned that many of the programs that rely on these federal funds are going to close. And to be clear, these funds were appropriated bipartisanly in Congress. They were signed into law by President Trump, and they were supposed to go out on July 1st. So this is basically withholding funds that programs are relying on, some of them to have camps as early as this week. And in some states, school begins August 1st. So we're looking at potentially seeing the closure of after-school programs across the country for this school year.
Jodi, I want to lean in on a little bit of research. After-school programs have been shown to help with school retention. How could this impact student attendance?
So we just released a big report on the connection between chronic absenteeism and after school. And the reality is many kids come to school because they love their after school program. So it definitely supports our schools. We're also worried because when kids don't have access to after school, it is far from ideal. We see juvenile crime rates go up tremendously. We see many of our students staring at screens. We see our working parents completely stressed out. It impacts their work, their ability to do their job, the businesses on Main Street that employ these parents. So it's this ripple effect that hits entire communities, and it's really a shame because our students are our best resource, and this is really parents.
And Jodi, the Trump administration says that some of these programs allegedly promote things like illegal immigration, advocacy, queer resistance in the arts. What is your response to that?
These programs all follow the law. And if they don't, the Department of Ed has a whole office to focus on that. But I can say in the 20 years that I've been doing this job, I have seen the most wholesome, extraordinary programs that are really serving the students in unique communities across America.
And Jodi, lastly, many call after school and summer programs an investment in children. What do you say to that?
Say it's a huge investment. We know that, for every dollar invested, it is saving tons and tons of dollars. And I want to add that we polled voters after the election, and 90% of voters say after school programs are an absolute necessity in their community. And the reason they say this is because they see firsthand the wonderful things that are happening with kids in their community in those hours.
Absolutely. Executive Director of After School Alliance, Jodi Grant, thank you so much.
Oh, so exciting, Jodi. Thank you for sharing that. I think we all got a lot out of that. Thank you for being a huge advocate. Can you just share one last thing before we move on and go to our next section of this webinar? Just like getting through all of that and seeing how inspiring it is to see our field come together and stand up and advocate for itself. What leaves you most hopeful today on the eve of some of the challenges?
So I'm so glad you asked that. Thank you, Aaron. I think anytime you actually shine a light on what's happening in programs, we win. And so to the summer programs that let the cameras in, that let the reporters in, that really painted a picture for the public and policymakers, that is why we were able to get this funding release. And I would leave all of you to say, keep doing the great work you're doing, but make sure to show it. So invite your local policymakers, invite your local leaders, develop relationships with your local media, because this is how we can not just save the programs that we have, but make others realize why we want to reach more kids.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Jodi. Thank you for your partnership and the great work of the After School Alliance. And thank you to everyone, again, because it shows what we do in our communities, it all adds up to a national response and a national priority that people see and they feel. So thank you so much, Jodi, for being with us today. And if you want more resources, definitely check out After School Alliance's website. And I just want to share, as we ran around the country as well, in support of all these collective efforts, one thing that was very on display was how much time we add to a young person's life and how transformative it is. And when you see programs that go for nursery school students before they start kindergarten, through internships like Nabila when they finish college, that's an additional 5.5 school years of learning time we could add to a young person's life before they even have their first full-time job. So it's a huge return on investment. We all know it, but how we argue for our cause, sometimes we need to keep modifying that. For our next panel, where we're going to hear from some great leaders, I want to call in the president of Lavinia Group, Jackie Taslim, who is an amazing education leader. Lavinia Group is a huge resource that helps students learn. I think you've been in the post, Jackie, for 5 years. You've been a great partner to NSLA and to the after school and summer learning field. I personally visited programs in schools in New York, Washington, Alabama that were all using Lavinia and getting great results. So you're an amazing resource that people are taking advantage of. So want to say thank you for being here, Jackie, and let you introduce our next section.
Great. Thank you, Aaron. It's so great to be here today. And so as you just heard, my work is really centered on making summer a time of real possibility for students. And, I believe that's never been more important than it is right now, with NAEP scores showing historic declines. We're really at an inflection point in education. And so, here we are 5 years since the pandemic, and families, educators, and policymakers are all still asking, how do we catch students up and how do we help them move forward? And so as someone who works with programs, as Erin said, all across the country and more than 30 states, I can tell you this, which is the same policies we see deliver very different outcomes. And so it always comes down to one thing, which is the quality of the program. And so my push for this group today is to really think about every single input going into your summer school program and evaluate, are those inputs getting me to my intended goal? And so, often in the summer, we see schools assuming that just because teachers taught during the school year, they're able to sort of pick up and teach in the summer, that they're able to plan their own curriculum and set their own schedules, and they don't need that additional training and coaching and feedback. And so, what I'm here to tell you is that hosting the program is not enough. We really have to turn our attention to the quality of what we are providing for children. And so during this panel today, you'll hear from leaders who are really raising the bar. They're not just plugging in the same old inputs. Rather, they're finding the highest quality practitioners, the most relevant curriculum, the best in class training, and really achieving results. So my first point is that the quality really, really matters. And then my second message for you is that while your entire program may not be around academics and shouldn't be all around academics, we really do need to accept the reality that children, especially those not on grade level, need to spend time on literacy and math in the summer. And we should do so in a way that is incredibly engaging and offers real world, meaningful context for children. But we cannot miss the opportunity to close those gaps in literacy and math over the summer, so that we're really setting our children up to solve the problems of the world. So if I leave you with those two things, please remember those. So now I'm going to turn it over to our moderator for this next panel, Julia Pockros, who is the Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships at Lavinia Group. Julia has firsthand experience propping up summer programs that serve more than 50,000 students during the summer. She brings a wealth of knowledge and perspective about what it takes to build programs at scale that are both impactful and sustainable. So she will lead us through this panel today. I'm really happy to have her here.
Great. Thank you, Jackie. And hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm absolutely thrilled to be in this space with you. I'm Julia Pockros, and I'm the Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships at Lavinia Group. And I'm excited to share just a little bit about who we are and what we've been learning in the out-of-school time space. So Lavinia Group is an education organization that's really brought our best practices from K-12 into summer programming. So just this past year, we partnered with districts, schools, community-based organizations, and served over 60,000 students in 22 states. Our role is to provide the academic program, the dedicated summer curriculum, the pre and post assessments, the continuous professional development, while our partners really design the broader program that reflects their community's needs and contexts. And so from this vantage point, we're really thinking and reflecting on three big lessons from summer 2025. The first one is we cannot improve what we cannot measure. This summer, more organizations leaned into evaluation than ever before. They used student assessments, family and educator surveys, classroom observations, and those who set clear goals and tracked them closely were able to make meaningful adjustments in real time throughout the summer. The second big lesson that we're reflecting on is that educators of all backgrounds can drive student growth with the right training and the right support. This year, we worked with thousands of uncertified educators, many stepping into the classroom for the very first time. With in-person training and ongoing coaching, they achieved just as much student growth as many veteran teachers. The lesson here, we shouldn't shy away from hiring non-traditional staff. What matters is the preparation and the ongoing support we provide. And third, summer works best when it's treated as a continuation and not just an add-on. Increasingly, programs are approaching summer as an extension of their year-round practices, or even letting summer successes inform the school year. Consistency and layering of supports amplify student outcomes. So the more we treat summer as an integral to the full educational experience, the greater the long-term impact will be for students. So with that, those are just 3 things that I'm reflecting on, our organization is thinking about, that I wanted to share with you. But more importantly, we have some exceptional thought leaders in this space who are going to share some really tangible practices based on their own experiences this summer. So without further ado, let's meet our panelists and hear more about their lessons learned and best practices from this past summer. Welcome, panelists. Come on in. Just making sure everybody's in our space. Okay, great. Hi, team. Thanks for being here today. I'm actually going to let each of you introduce yourselves. So please share your name, please share your role, and one word that defined summer 2025 for you. So Will, would you mind kicking it off?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. Will Cardwell, Managing Director of Partnerships and Summer Learning at Boston Afterschool and Beyond. And I'll share a little bit more in my section, but I would say growth is a top word for us this year.
Growth. Excited to hear more about that. Great. G, over to you.
Thanks, Julia. Hi, everyone. I'm G. Deogracias. I'm our Managing Director of Research and Technology at Breakthrough Collaborative, which is a national nonprofit of 25 affiliates that provides educational opportunities to about 10,000 students across the country and equips 1,100 college students to become the next generation of educators and advocates. And my word is resilience.
Great. Lanica, how about you?
Hi, folks. I am Lanica Angpak. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the director of OST, or out of school time, here at the School District of Philadelphia. My one word would be energetic for the school past summer.
Great. I'm writing these all down so we can return to them. And Duane, how about you?
Thank you, Julia. Hello, everyone. My name is Duane Wilson. I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Northern Indiana Corridor here in Northern Indiana. And my one word is expansive.
Expansive. Great. Okay. Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I'm really excited. And what we're going to do is start. I'm first going to ask each of you just a few individual questions about your programs this summer, and then we'll have a group discussion to close out. So, Will, I'm going to start with you. I would love to hear your 2 successes from summer 2025. Let's start with that.
Yeah, sure. So it's part of my next response, but we've seen a record in the number of young people we've served in the city of Boston. So historically, our network serves young people in Boston, greater Boston area. We have close to 100,000 children. Not all kind of get connected to a summer learning opportunity. So this year we saw a record 18,000 students, which were primarily our Boston Public School students who attended. And though we didn't have a record high in the number of organizations that participated, what we did see was an increase in the number of students served per organization, which for us kind of highlights the importance of high quality and families' connection and trust in these programs to have their children continue to attend throughout.
Yeah, so let's that's really great to hear, Will, and congratulations on that. I want to dig into that. So can you talk a little bit about the inputs then, and what your team did to really ensure that more students were served at each organization?
Yeah, sure. So we have a pretty robust network of, we had 241 programs. We have about 400 and some odd programs in our network throughout the entire year. So 240 of them participated in summer learning this year. One of the big things that we did was worked with Boston Public Schools to increase visibility in messaging and marketing. We were also able to start a bit sooner in terms of our engagement with families, but also put out a lot of press, a lot of phone calls, availability, nights at schools, having families come directly to the central office at BPS and then employed the entire family resources team throughout the year, which, I hear from them, oh my gosh, so many calls and there's only so many of us. But they thankfully dedicated a lot of time to meet with families, provide us a lot of support around translation and support, and ensure that those families didn't leave the building without a summer plan in place. Which was great because we saw so many more families than we have in previous years become, engaged and not just kind of passively connected to programs. Now, in terms of the program growth in the number of students served per site, I don't necessarily know if there's anything specifically that we did beyond the marketing piece. I think more so it's that we've had partners continuously do this work year over year. And I think families have become attuned to what is high quality and what is not, and a lot of word of mouth. So, we'll get many calls. I'll get a ton of emails from families saying, I have friends that also want to do this sailing program. We want to have their children, and we want to have our friends' come to the programming as well. And I think just, spending so much time developing the relationships with our partners to where there was trust and there was an ability to accommodate even sometimes over what they anticipated, understanding that we would be there to provide whatever supports were needed, that the school district would provide, financial and staff support for the academic piece of a lot of the programming. And I think just overall within the community and families, because we are sometimes away from the on the ground direct family connection piece, since we do more the research development. And I think by us also being available to meet with families directly as well, I think that helped them trust when we made recommendations and said, hey, these are really great programs, that they said, great, we trust you. We're going to bring our children there and let's see what kind of summer opportunity they have.
Great. That's great, Will. And we're going to pick up a little bit later in the conversation around family engagement and caregiver support. So thanks for sharing those initial tactics with us. That's really helpful to hear.
Of course.
G, would love to pivot over to you. I want to hear about 2 successes from your network this summer. And then I've been dying to hear more about these data parties. So can you please tell us what these data parties are, how you use them, and what the impact was of them?
Sure, absolutely. So, starting with 2 successes from 2025, I'll share 2 that are just really directly related to our dual mission. And so, for the first part of our mission is to support students starting in middle grades throughout high school and in some cases through college. And so, our cornerstone program is a middle school summer program where students are learning academics and enrichment activities in like a very camp, like fun, very fun atmosphere. And so, one success that I'll share related to that is that compared to the last few summers, we had the highest percentage of students that grew or maintained their learning and reading and math, which was very exciting. And then the second success is tied to the second part of our mission, which is to increase interest in teaching and in education. And the way that we do that is through recruiting college students from across the country to teach in those summer programs. And so this past summer, we saw increases in our teaching fellows' level of interest in both teaching and in careers in education by the end of their time with us at Breakthrough. And so you asked about data parties. So data parties is a participatory evaluation strategy. You can do it in a lot of different ways. The way that we use it at the collaborative is to really help the folks that we're doing research on to help us with the data interpretation and sense making. And so we usually hold our data parties at our national conference when all of our affiliates are together. And it's always in the fall. And so it gives us a really nice time to look at the previous summer and then also start planning for the next summer. And so the way that we do them is we usually prepare summaries of all of the data that we've collected over the summertime. So academic assessments, surveys, and we have a guided reflection sheet that I'm happy to share with folks if you're interested. And we'll walk everyone through it. So we break it down. We have folks look at calculations. We have them look at trends. They'll brainstorm with each other on how to improve in a particular area, and then we'll come up with strategies on what they can do differently next time. And we're also celebrating. So we're celebrating successes in the data and then know what things we don't want to change or keep doing or doubling down on because we know from the data that it's working. And so I would also say that because it's called a data party, it has to be fun. If it's not fun, folks won't come and they won't have a great time. And so we usually have candy and noisemakers and like really make it fun and a fun and low pressure way to really sort of look at data in an actionable way.
I love that, Jay. And I know that a lot of organizations are kind of doing this at different levels. So some are doing it just at the classroom level, and teachers are coming together and having data parties and looking at student work together, and you know, at the organizational level. And it sounds like you all are doing it at the network level. So I encourage everyone, you know, regardless of how you're engaging in this conversation and how you support students over the summer, to think about how to get everyone huddled around the table to study outcomes, to talk about what worked and what you want to do differently. That's great, Jay. Thank you. Lanica, would love to pivot to you. So we're jumping all over the place, guys. Thanks for hanging with us. I definitely want to hear about 2 successes from your program this summer. And then I have heard that you all onboarded something like 400 teachers really late. And so I want to hear about how you were able to effectively do that. You know, what lessons were learned that really changed how you operationalize your program this summer?
Absolutely. Thank you. In terms of 2 successes, I just for like a little bit of context, I came into the work mid-planning. So I came into this work learning from leaders who have been doing the work before me, and then just being able to integrate my own kind of approach to it. So I came in around late January, and that means that's, like we said, summer starts in September. January, we're already halfway through planning. So I would say in terms of my first summer here at the district, and with our Summer Achievers program, 2 of our successes that I'm really excited about to continue growing on is the collaborative partnerships that we have between our OST providers and our district teachers. So our programs have an academic morning, an enrichment afternoon, and sometimes those things can feel really separate. But growing on the collaborative nature of making sure that both entities are working together really starts from the teachers and the group leaders, but as well as our partnership with the city and their intermediary to be able to make this work happen alongside the district. So those collaborative partnerships are really key to getting things done, and not just getting them done, but doing them well. And the second success I would say is, for me personally, that onboarding of those 400 plus teachers. I actually pulled up a spreadsheet this morning to remind myself of the number, and it was closer to like 430 teachers. So shout out to the district team for doing that, because it was not me alone. We have a whole office of talent and senior project managers and former executive directors who really had to go through this process together. And those 400 teachers served just over 5,500 students across 59 different schools across the city. And a big part of like making that possible is a whole bunch of spreadsheets. It's a whole bunch of spreadsheets and a whole bunch of evaluations from prior program years to be able to understand what the needs are from our teachers, directly from our teachers. So not just how they would rate their experience from 1 to 4, but also on just like hearing from them directly of the folks who come back every year. What are they saying? What works? What doesn't work?
Great. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about retention, because it sounds like you're on to something, and I want to make sure we dig into that. Thank you. Duane, over to you in Indiana. I want to hear about 2 successes that you had in 2025. And then I'm gonna, you know, propel us even further into that, which is you all served about 2,500 students in summer 2024, I think.
Yes.
And then in summer 2025, you doubled in size, serving about 6,000 students, double number of sites, doubled as well, but you maintained academic results. And so I absolutely want to hear about how you managed to scale and keep that quality.
Great. So other than the quality aspect, that would be my number 1, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But I think the 2 successes I would love to highlight. Number 1 is that over all of these sites, we had a 74% attendance rate. And to me, in summer, that is significant. Number 1, it says 2 things. For the kids to want to come 74% of the time, that means that it was an engaging program that really captured their attention. For context, we run summer school in the morning, which would be the traditional space where they're learning literacy and math. And then in the afternoon, we're running traditional Boys and Girls Club type programming, which means we're taking them on field trips, we're bringing in guest speakers, doing amazing activities. So we want this to be an engaging opportunity for them. And 75% says it was pretty engaged for them as well. But it also says it's for parents to bring their young kids to school every day, 74% of the time, that it was a valuable program. So we're excited about that. I think the second success I would really highlight is the fact that we were able to expand into rural areas. We went into rural communities where typically there's no robust summer programming. Many times there's not even summer school. So we were able to scale this into rural areas and give access to kids who don't normally have this kind of rich programming. And those are the things that I'm excited about. And so as you talk about expanding, one of the keys to our expansion, I would say, number one, not just expanding into different communities, but expanding the volume of students that we were able to take, as you mentioned, more than 6,000. I would attribute it to three things. One, standardization, and that everyone is doing the same thing at the same time. And so, and it starts with the curriculum. One of the things that we noticed is that we had experienced teachers who were teaching 20 years plus, and we had some first-year teachers, and we had some of those who had never really officially been a teacher, but they were passionate about education. They had the same curriculum with the same activities, and they were able to perform the same kind of, deliver the same kind of content to all of our kids. And so that's really important. The second important piece is accessibility to information. Whether we created a portal that whether you were in our county where we are or almost 4 hours away, you had all of the content accessible to you. You had clear standard operating procedures. You had very clear access to our Google Drive to get every piece of material that you needed. We had teachers who were around, who were training and doing evaluations to be able to make sure they had that. So if there was any question about anything, training was accessible. And then the last thing I would say is that we let teachers do what they're great at, and that's teaching. So that means all the data entry we handled at the admin level. All of the logistics we handled at the admin level, so that when I went to a classroom or any of the other teachers or other staff, they were doing what they're great at, teaching. And that enabled us to deliver what I believe is great quality programming.
Right. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I really appreciate those three things that you distilled. And actually, I want to open this up as our first group conversation because the rest of you have also been scaling your programs, right? And some of you ran the biggest program this year that you ever have before. And so I would love to hear any other thoughts or reflections or actually advice for the rest of the people on this call right now around how do you scale a program and maintain quality. So any other thoughts, feel free to come off and respond to what Dwayne said or add something.
Yeah, I think similar to some of the things Dwayne mentioned are kind of related to the fifth quarter of summer learning here in Boston. So it is the new vision of summer school with our Boston Public Schools. And I think over several years, since I've started, we've really worked on the standardization and the training piece. I feel like when teachers felt more confident that they knew what they were doing in terms of the curriculum, they felt that they knew the students and where they would be located, and that we had particular structures around communication. That's something that we really worked on this year, incident reportings and just having everything centralized in terms of like what their needs were. We provided curriculum and supplies to a level that we typically haven't. And I think that for that, it really made teachers that more effective and that more passionate about the work they do, which saw really high attendance rates in the close to 90% this summer. And so yeah, I mean, I feel like over time it took some time for us to kind of figure out what everyone needed and to get it to them, given how small our team is and how large our network is of providers and youth. But I think this year kind of really exemplified what all that hard work meant to then see the largest network and largest number of youth that we've seen served in the summer in our we just celebrated our 20th year in Boston.
I'm happy to jump in. I mean, I think for us, we do have a set of like program and organizational standards that we have made huge strides in gathering information from our individual affiliates so that we know where they are in terms of the standards, and they're very ambitious. And so we know that there's going to be areas of support where there might need to be additional resources of support. So then our national office can be able to support them there. But one thing I will say is that all of our breakthrough sites, all of our affiliate sites, they feel like breakthrough when you walk into them, but they also are very unique in their own way. And I think that's where there's so much power in the ability for individual sites to be able to be flexible and autonomous in terms of how they can meet their individual community's needs. And I think that that really sort of strengthens all of our programs and making sure that, even though that there's like a program that's across the country that looks kind of like a program that's, in my hometown, if we're meeting the needs of what's going on in my hometown, that makes it a high quality program too.
Yeah, if I could just pop in, I heard some mentions of like PD, professional development, and that was definitely a big part of a shift that we had for this summer was um, providing PD not just for our district teachers on the school district end, but also inviting our OST providers, so the folks who work directly with the city, who provide the enrichment, to hop on to some of our lead teacher PD so that they could start the collaboration well ahead of summer. So our PD and that collaborative piece started in the springtime so that folks could start putting faces to names, exchanging contact information. And that's truly the thing that helped to drive really good relationships between these teachers and the providers, and ensuring that our teachers are doing their academic portion. They do what they do best, as Duane said, and then our providers, they did the data portion, and understanding those roles and responsibilities, and that delegation of work was really important for everyone to understand. And through really transparent communication from all ends, whether it's from leadership at the district or city level, or just between teachers and their providers, folks built really great relationships this summer, and it was really nice to see the fruits of that.
Julie, if I could add one thing
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
was really beneficial. As an organization, we listen to the teachers. We have a continual feedback loop where we'll take feedback at the end of the year. Most of our changes for 2025 came because of the feedback that we had from 2024. And then we do these ongoing and these regular with our teacher liaisons feedback loops and then we make the changes that need to be impacted. And I think that builds trust, with the school district and our organization, and the teachers feel confident that they can give feedback, and they're the ones who are actually helping us get better. So I want to really give a shout out to our teachers who are the ones that really help us get better by giving us some feedback.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, before you jumped in there, what I was going to say, and you just reiterated this is, it sounds like everyone agrees that yes, when you scale and you want to maintain quality, there are of course these technical pieces, the infrastructure you need to have in place. But what it really comes down to is that adaptive work and the human-centered side of this work. And all of you are paying attention to that and really thinking about how do we lead with people? How do we keep our people happy? And how do we let our people do their best work? So thank you for lifting that up. I'm going to pivot and jump to something else that we haven't really touched on yet, but I know is top of mind for lots of folks on the call, both when it comes to summer and really year-round programming. I would love to hear how your organization is approaching workforce development and career readiness. And, since we're talking about summer, let's talk about it in the context of summer. If you don't have a specific summer example, feel free to tap into something year round. But how are you thinking about that? How are you integrating it into your program design? What's it look like? And anybody can feel free to jump in.
I can hop on first. This actually is great because I was thinking about hiring for this upcoming summer. We're already starting that planning process, and something that we have here at the district are our school-based teacher leaders, our SBTLs, and they are the folks who It's like an additional duty to their regular duties as classroom teachers, and they take on leadership roles at their school during the school year. And we take that into account when we do hiring for our summer programs. Our summer programs, we have positions of our point teachers who are like our lead teachers who kind of act like our principals in the schools during the summer because our principals are not in the schools. So we have our point teachers and we have our classroom teachers. And we really want to be able to engage the folks who are SBTLs in the summer or who are interested in becoming SBTLs, the folks who are really interested in those school leadership positions where they are during the school year, to take advantage of the summer opportunity to step into a little bit more of that leadership role and to explore that as they continue with their own journey in their careers.
G, would you mind? I think that you all have a somewhat similar model. I mean, not exactly, but would love if you could build on next.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we also use professional licensed teachers to help support our summer program. And we call them instructional coaches, and they are usually overseeing a group of teaching fellows for the whole summertime. They're observing our teaching fellows multiple times a week. Those teaching fellows are receiving feedback, support throughout the whole summer. And I would say, at least as far as, the desire for us to increase interest in fellows who want to teach or go into fields of education, we've actually seen over time, like throughout our summertime, that when they come in, they're kind of at this developing level in terms of their own teaching skills. But by the end of the summer, with that coaching, and because we have a very strong rubric that really like hones in on 5 different competencies around teaching, that by the end of the summer, they're usually at a proficient level. And so we've also been able to quantify that, and that's also been really, really helpful and exciting to see.
Great.
Great.
Dwayne?
I'll jump in. I think, I appreciate what you said earlier. We're one of those organizations who is our summer program is an extension of our after school program. So in terms of workforce development, it's all throughout our year. So we utilize the RIASEC inventory assessment, which really gauges a student's interest in what they're, where they would like to go currently. And we kind of give them academic content or experiences that really continue to feed their interest in terms of what they want to do. So that's embedded all throughout our summer. And we have specific themed days. For example, Mondays is Medical Monday. We have, where medical will come in and talk about the medical field, give kids an opportunity to experience that. And we just have Trades Day Tuesdays, different things like that, where we're really continually driving in the areas that our kids want to go in. We're feeding their interest and exposing them to different things as well. And it could be guest speakers, it could be field trips, it could be experiences where they get internships, or at least work experiences, I should say. That's how we kind of manage our workforce program during the summer.
Great. Will, anything else that you want to share about your program and how you're focusing on this?
Yeah, sure. I think kind of what I wanted to share is kind of related to what everyone shared. So kind of 2 parts. Kind of to Dwayne's piece is that our partners do focus on kind of career development. We serve youth K through 12th grade and adult ed within our network. And we have a framework, Achieve, Connect, Thrive, which are 9 different skill tenets that are not necessarily academic, but they are related to the college and career mindset, as well as preparing young people to be successful in school through the out-of-school support lens. And so that's something that everyone within our network commits to, but also that is what we evaluate and provide feedback to all partners about during the school year and summer, which is kind of the real big hallmark for the work we do in our community. Secondly is a bit more organic in terms of workforce. So we are fortunate to have 3 different organizations in Boston, including the city of Boston, which provide teens with jobs. And the way that we try to utilize that moving forward is to integrate those teens into our programs. So we've seen a lot of attrition in the nonprofit field since 2020. A lot of capacity building is still needed in many of our sites. And for 5th quarter, unfortunately, due to the costs our teachers no longer stay the full day. They stay for about half the day. Our enrichment providers provide support the rest of the day, but the number of young people they're serving does not change. And so we really try to work with those entities that provide teen jobs, as well as our community-based organizations, to kind of identify teams that are interested in the work, want to work with young people, and can kind of help fill in some of those capacity gaps while potentially affording them a pathway into the nonprofit teaching field, which is maybe something that a lot of them may not have aspired to, but once they kind of have that hands-on experience and develop those connections, they may see themselves at a Boys and Girls Club or a YMCA, or just a local sports program that supports local youth in their communities.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all. I could talk about this forever, obviously, and I think all of us could. But unfortunately, we're at the end of our hour. But thank you for sharing such tangible strategies and accessible strategies that I think everyone on this call can really take and think about whether it fits the needs of their community and their context. I'm seeing questions come into the chat and to the Q&A. For those of you listening who have additional questions, please add them. I'm confident our panelists will stay present and respond to them in the chat over the next 5 minutes as we transition. We want this to be useful, so please continue to ask about specific resources, specific frameworks. We'll share as much as we can. And to our panelists, thanks so much. Looking forward to continuing the conversation. I know we'll see each other throughout the rest of this year, and excited to see what you all do in summer 2026. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you all.
Natalia, I think you're back on stage. Good to see you
Guys,
again.
thank you. Thank you so much. Will, Dwayne, G, Lanica, Julia, amazing, great discussion. Thank you. I'm always impressed by your thoughtfulness and your intention in everything you do. I don't know about you guys, but I want to be invited to these data parties. They sound really cool. Kudos for building space and making space for these feedback loops and increasing trust with your educators. And just hats off. Increased attendance and engagement in young people and record numbers of young people being served. Those are all such bright spots that we want to hear about, and we thank you all for the good work that you do. Julia, thank you in particular to you and the Lavinia team for your good work across the nation, and always for your ongoing support with NSLA. We are continuously impressed by your commitment to partner with us in all ways. So thank you.